if there's one constant in marriage, it is change.
Always
The
change.
person you married is not the person you're living with a year from now, 2 years, 3 years. We have changed radically as individuals as a result of being married. That's why I don't personally recommend long dating periods and long engagements, because I'm like, it's not until you say I do and y'all live together on that first day that you begin to discover who somebody really is. And then that person begins to change very rapidly. So change is a part of marriage, and not just individuals changing over time by age or by personality, but just situations that inflict change, if that's a lack of a better term.
Well, I think it's more so, I mean, yes, it is change, but I think it's also discovery of your spouse, and a lot of times discovery of you as an individual. Like, we talked about all the time that once we got married and started dealing with some things, I didn't realize some of the things that I had to deal with, some of the emotional things, some of the baggage I carried in, that I didn't realize it was an issue until certain things challenged it. And I realized, oh, I had that problem. So a lot of times the changes you see is really not, it is changing, but it's really not changed because you've always
Like
been that
uncovering.
person. It's discovering and uncovering different parts of yourself that you probably weren't aware of.
Yeah, and that's why I think change should be a good thing. In our church, we had a popular saying, change is good. You should go into marriage expecting change or discover.
If it's change to better.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, you should come in wanting transformation. That's a better word for it. You should come in like, every day, every year, we're getting better. We're transforming into something better than we were before, better than the day before. So, that should be a part of it. And I know maturity and rapid development and self-development is huge for us, and we focus on that and prioritize that. So we're constantly in a mode of discovery. I think just last night we had a long conversation, stayed up late, and we were talking and discovering things, revealing things about ourselves. That's why you got to sit down and talk a lot. Not just, hey, how you doing? Bye in the hallway. Y'all got to sit down face to face and just talk, because that's when you discover something about yourselves. The more you discover things about yourselves, the more you can connect.
And not just talk at each other, but talk with the intent to understand.
Yeah, because actually, we mentioned this last night as we were talking, because if you could see our conversations, they would make good Jalen and Cacie stories sometimes. But it's in those conversations that we get stories to share with you guys. But as we were talking, one of us made a statement about how, you don't want to. What did you just said? Because I lost where I was going with that.
Oh, wow.
I really did. It was so profound too.
Okay, you don't talk at each other, but you talk with understanding.
Oh yeah, well, I think it was me that said last night that it's important to not in the middle of an issue, like talk about it. You gotta, when there's nothing going on, talk about things so that. If you got problems with the way that y'all raising children together, you got money issues, you got sexual issues, you've got you can't talk about it sometimes in the middle of y'all having a blowout or a disagreement about it. But if y'all talk deeply, frequently, consistently, then those are things that y'all can discuss when it's not in the middle of being a problem. And then you can discuss it without an agenda, without attacking each other, without talking at each other like you're saying. And you're literally just doing self-discovery and finding out who each other are. And that way it's not, you're not guarded in that moment.
And that's if both parties are being honest and being open and are comfortable with being honest and open. A lot of relationships, people are not comfortable with being truly gut level honest with their spouse because they're afraid that their spouse not going to understand them or it's going to cause an argument. Because unfortunately a lot of people are insecure. And we take everything so personal.
Well, everybody's insecure about something in their life.
But you should feel safe in your relationship that you're like, even if your marriage have issues, because we all have issues, something got to work on all the time. But if your friendship, if your relationship between each other is not to the point where you feel comfortable that, listen, I can share with you this dark thing or this ugly thing or even share with you how I feel about you, that, you don't take offense to that and that you don't think that I'm attacking you and that, I'm belittling you, but I'm just telling you how I feel or how I perceive what's going on. And like I said, you having a conversation of understanding, because a lot of times it just boils down, you have a misunderstanding. You talk two different ways. And I mean, we know that about us, you know. Now we know each other a lot more now, but I can remember in the beginning, we had a lot of misunderstanding because we talk different. Like, for example, you know, if I say this is the color red, you might say it's magenta. You know, now magenta is a part of red, but it's not red. It's not my definition of red. Your definition of red is totally different. So a lot of times that's what happens. We have two different meanings of the same thing. And so learning how each other communicate is very, very important.
And, you know, you talked about being secure. A lot of people are insecure in relationships because they don't trust each other. And I think we did a series on, I don't know which one it was. Watch all of the Jalen and Cacie stories. But there was one where we really talked about trust. And it's something that's got to be built over time if you are a person who doesn't trust easily. And a lot of times, if there's been betrayal in a relationship or just a lot of attacking in conversation, you don't feel safe talking. So you got to build it. But a good practice, I think, would be, and I think we kind of do this by default now, but maybe earlier on we kind of had to talk it out. But you kind of got to lay groundwork for conversation sometimes. Like if you know a deep conversation is coming on, sometimes you got to lay groundwork. Like, look, this is not me attacking you. We're talking because we just need to deal with this. This is how I feel. This is my perception. I'm not saying you did this on purpose, but sometimes you got to do that preamble before you say something. You know, you got to get that out there so that you're laying the groundwork. It's like, okay, we're not allowed to attack each other in the space of this conversation. We're not allowed to fight or to get offended or to take offense. Right now, this gut level, honest truth. There may be tears. It may be hard to get out, but we're just going to talk about this. And sometimes you just got to do that and stage the conversation that way when you see it veering there. Like, look, this is what we're doing right now, because otherwise you'll never grow up. You'll never mature if constantly y'all just don't know how to communicate. You got to make yourselves better communicators.
I think it's a lot easier, though, when you don't have the fear that your spouse is going to leave you. No, I'm serious. Like, I have no fear or doubt that you're going to leave me. Like, I'm just confident in that. Even if you were thinking about it, I don't have a sense of that. I don't have any awareness that anything I could say to you would offend you enough that you walk out the door. Some couples don't have that, you know, confidence. You know, they've been on the edge for so long that they feel like if I say one more thing, it's going to be the straw that breaks the camel back. And so you will have to get to a point where that's not an issue. For us, divorce is not even on the table. It's not even a conversation that we are even allowed to have. Like,
a lot of people don't have enough laws in their marriage. One of our laws is we're married for life. There is no divorce till death do us part. Death is the only way any one of us is getting out of this, you know, and we don't even plan on dying.
And even
like
then,
that.
Somebody can wait for us in heaven. Like,
exactly.
I'm waiting for you.
You know, we got certain laws about that. Laws that we don't allow ourselves to be divided. You know, we have disagreements. We'll get upset with each other, but there's just a certain, like, almost unspoken rule of, like, we can't allow disagreement to extend beyond a certain point of time. I can't think of 48 consecutive hours where we had an issue with each other. I just can't really think before we had to get down and resolve it. Like, we just have certain laws of engagement about how we handle this marriage. And I realize a lot of people don't have that. They're just kind of existing, popping from argument to argument, and there's no sense of, you know, okay, maybe we're in disagreement about this, but we are going to come to a solution. I think there are people living in marriage who there is no hope for a solution because y'all have no plan of action. Y'all know how to get there. And so you've got to set these things in place so that when the changes come, when the trouble comes, you know how to handle it, because trouble will come. Change will come. It always does. If there's anything that you can count on, is that the devil will come to steal, to kill, to destroy. And then that's just from the negative side. On the positive side, something like getting pregnant, that's a change. Change happens. If there's anything that you can understand in this matter universe that we live in, everything changes. Conditions change everything. Sometimes water is solid if the conditions are just right. Sometimes water is gas if the conditions are just right. Or sometimes it'll be liquid. Change is a constant. And so there have to be certain unchangeable laws in your marriage that you bump up against with change. And so that you know how to roll with the changes when they come.
And one thing for us that we've always put first is God, obviously, is first in our relationship and first in our individual life. But we've promised each other that our marriage will always be top priority no matter what changes, what comes, and what happens. Now that we are expecting our first child, you know, we've been having this conversation before we even, you know, decided to get pregnant, but we already have that conversation before we even, you know, decided to get pregnant. But, you know, we've been having this conversation before we even, you know, decided to get pregnant. But, you know, we've been having this conversation before we even, you know, decided to get pregnant. But, you know, we've been having this conversation before we even, you know, decided to get pregnant. But, you know, we've been having this conversation before we even, you know, decided to get pregnant. But, you know, we've been having this conversation before we even, you know, decided to get pregnant. But, you know, we've been having this conversation before we even, you know, decided to get pregnant. But, you know, we've been having this conversation before we even, you know, decided to get pregnant. But, you know, we've been having this conversation before we even, you know, decided to get pregnant. But, you know, we've been having this conversation before we even, you know, decided to get pregnant. But, you know, we've we want to make sure that our marriage is always top priority. Because without a solid foundation between you and I, if our marriage is rocky, there's no way we're going to be able to raise a healthy, well-rounded human being. And a lot of times, and I already told him, I said last when we were talking, I was like, I can see how children can come in between a husband and a wife if the priority is out of place. Because a lot of, like, at the point of this video, I'm a little over 8 weeks now, almost 9 weeks. And, you know, if you've ever been pregnant before, you go through a lot of changes in your body, emotionally, physically, and it can be draining. And honestly, it's an opportunity, if you let it, to become very selfish. Because, you know, as the woman carrying a child, you feel like your husband, your man should understand. He shouldn't require you to do anything. He shouldn't expect anything of you. Doesn't he understand that you carrying his child, that he should be waiting on you hand and foot and all that stuff? And it's just like, this is my moment to soak it all in, and I can be as selfish as I want. Well, in reality, no. You're still his wife, okay? You may be carrying a child, but you are still his wife, and you can't take off your wife hat and go on vacation from being a wife just because now you're pregnant or because you have children already. No, your marriage comes first. What you have to do is sit down and create a system and a plan that both of you agree on that is going to help continue your marriage development. And let's just be honest about this. Talk about intimacy. That's probably the biggest thing that most couples struggle with in their marriage, especially when they get pregnant or they have children, is intimacy. The wife feels like, well, I don't have any energy. I'm zapped. You know, you shouldn't even be thinking about sex right now. Like, don't you understand? Like, why do you want this? But I told him last night, I understand that you are still a man. The needs you have will never go away just because I'm pregnant. Now, Jalen is very understanding. He is so patient. He is so attentive to my needs. And he's not a person who, you know, forces himself or bohards or pouts and stuff like that. But it doesn't mean that he doesn't have needs and desires. He will always have those needs. And I'm his wife. I'm the woman that God gave him. I don't expect him to go outside the marriage in any kind of way to fulfill those needs. So just because I'm not feeling it right now, it doesn't mean that I have the right to neglect him or just push him off to the side. Now, him and I, we've come to an agreement on how we want to handle that, and it's working for us. And, you know, like I said, it's working for us, but we still have to talk about it. He still needs to be attended to, and I can't just be like, well, you know, I'm just feeling too bad right now. And I know that's probably gonna raise a lot of questions, but I can see a lot of questions right now coming into our inbox. But what I'm saying is that our marriage still takes priority. You may have to adjust how you do things. You may have to, you know, rearrange your schedule, but your marriage still has to be priority.
Like we just said, it's rolling with the changes. We've got laws like, okay, the marriage must be attended to. Intimacy must be attended to. We know for a fact, if our marriage is to survive, intimacy, sexual intimacy must always be attended to. So it's like, okay, well, now pregnancy happens. In other people's lives, sometimes sickness happens. Tragedy happens. It's something with a family member. Any number of things can happen. But if the law is we still have to take care of our marriage and prioritize sexual intimacy, then you may make adjustments. It may not look like it looked before this change happened, but if it's still a priority, it just has to be adjusted the way that it's been. But it's still got to happen. Yeah. It still has to take place.
And I think it's unfair to just assume that your spouse understands.
Yeah.
You need to talk about it. Communication is key.
Yeah.
Like I tell him all the time, tell me what you need. Tell me where you are emotionally, spiritually, even physically. Like, tell me where you are so I know how to adjust myself if need be. Don't assume that I get it. You know, because I'm in my own little bubble right now. You know, I'm still gestating this whole idea that I am carrying life. And I find myself kind of spacing out sometimes and just like I'm consumed with this process that I'm in right now. So not on purpose, but I forget things. I just be like, oh, yeah, you know. So I need him to communicate with me. And as well as I need to communicate with you as well as to what I need.
So we make adjustments. And because I understand that she's doing something that, although we're in this pregnancy together, I will never be able to experience exactly what she's experiencing on a physical level. I trust her when she says, I'm tired, like tonight. Okay, we're just gonna shoot one video instead of two. All right, maybe that's the new normal. Our system used to be we shoot two videos every 2 weeks. Maybe now we're going to shoot one video a week, or maybe now some weeks, sorry guys, we're just not going to have a video. We got to make adjustments, and I can't hold her to, well, we used to do it this way, you just need to do it. No, we make an adjustment. These videos and this YouTube channel is a priority, so we're going to make a system that works. But if we got to make an adjustment, we'll make an adjustment because things are a little bit different now. Same thing with our sexual intimacy, same thing with things around the house, cooking and food and things like that. I'm picking up a lot of, I won't say slack, but I'm doing a lot more, and there's a grace and an anointing on me that's just come over me since we found out that Cacie was pregnant, that I am, not that I was ever unwilling, but it's just this energy that I have. It's like I've got more energy to do the extra things that maybe before in the previous season I didn't. And that's another thing on the spiritual side of this, because you got to be this way and not be so stuck in yourself, so selfish, that you negate the anointing of the Lord to come on you when you go into a new season. When you go into a new season, there's an anointing and a grace to be able to handle it and to be able to do something like a superhero that you weren't able to do before you were in this season. But if you are so self-centered and unwilling to bend and to be attentive and gracious to your spouse, you'll negate the power of the anointing that's supposed to come on your life to enable you to do the thing that you previously thought you weren't capable of. I mean, I believe that's what fatherhood and motherhood is like, being a parent to a child. It's like there's an anointing that comes for you to be able to do it. Maybe before you thought, how can I ever raise another child? But then the anointing comes on and then you can do it. But if you go into it with fear or you go into it with just being stubborn, you'll negate that anointing and just push it off to the side and never partake of the grace that God has given you for that season.
Hey guys, thanks for watching this video. Did you know that we have channel memberships? Channel memberships are a great way for subscribers like you to support what we do with monthly payments that give you access to awesome perks. For example, if you sign up for Tier 1 Vision Bearer, you'll get a cool badge next to your name whenever you leave a comment beneath our videos. You also get access to custom emojis we made just for you, so people can know that you're one of our channel members. If you sign up for Tier 2 Vision Bearer Plus, you'll get a 20% discount on all of our merch, kind of like this hoodie that I'm wearing here and other things that you can find on our merch site, access to exclusive behind the scenes mini vlogs, and a members only chat with us right here on YouTube. The best part is, no matter which tier you choose, you'll get lifetime access to our premium content, like our 6-week course, Overcome the Spirit of Depression, or our long-form cinematic podcast, Death to Pornography. Only our channel members have unlimited access to these special productions. And to say thank you, we'll always give you shout outs by name in our live streams. Consider becoming a channel member today. Click the join button below for more information. Or if you're an iPhone user, click the link in our description. Thank you in advance, and we'll see you next time.